the all-new G45 generation BMW X3. In this video, I'll talk about what's new, what this thing is from a technical standpoint, how I feel about the interior space, and obviously what it's like to drive it. So let's get started. Now, the BMW X3 has been with us for over 2 decades, and with each generation the car got bigger and more powerful. That's obviously the case with the newest 4th generation, but there is something that is a bit controversial. I know that's what you can say about every new BMW model, but the design is different than the 1st generation, 2nd gen, or 3rd gen. It has its own unique design language, which some may like, some may don't. I'm a little bit in between, but the problem is the interior. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the reason BMW designed the new X3 the way it did is because they wanted to improve 2 things: reduce CO2 emissions and improve fuel economy. And they make the car very slick. We have active air shutters and all that rocket space magic behind it. And it ended up working out because they achieved a coefficient drag of 0.27, which is one of the best results in the segment. Now, as of platform, this thing still sits on a rear-wheel drive CLAR architecture, meaning we have a strut front suspension and a multilink setup in the back that can be using either passive, non-adaptive dampers, or adaptive dampers, which obviously adjust the suspension stiffness based on the setting and road conditions. No air suspension available, but to be honest, you don't really need that in your compact SUV. Audi Q5 has it, Volvo XC60 has it, but not an X3. Again, not a big deal, you don't really need that. Now, while the wheelbase remained the same, if we compare the new model to the predecessor, the new car sits a little bit lower by an inch. It has revised suspension tuning and a wider track. The new generation also received a new EPS rack for better precision and feedback, and the M50 that we're testing today features upgraded brakes. 4 pistons in the front, single piston floating caliper in the back. It is a brake-by-wire system, but the calibration is actually very good, and most people will not be even able to tell that this is a brake-by-wire. As of powertrain, we have 2 options in the US, and they're both mild hybrids. We have a 255 horsepower 2-liter turbo 4, starting at a little over $50,000, and that's the 30 model. We also have a 393 horsepower M50, which has a legendary at this point 3-liter turbocharged straight 6, codenamed B58. That car starts at around 66 grand and can go up to almost 80,000. Now, no matter which model you choose, you get an 8-speed automatic transmission provided by ZF, the 8 HP unit, which transfers the power to all wheels using BMW's rear-biased X-Drive system, and the M50 gets a locking rear differential. Now, before we talk what it's like to drive this thing on our favorite back road, let's take a look inside and talk about it because things are a little scary in here. Okay, so we're inside the new BMW X3. Now, the cabin is polarizing, to say the least. There are some good things about it, there are some great things about it, but also something that is a little bit of questionable. So let's start with the design. When you look at it, it looks very futuristic and minimalistic, but that also means that we lost a lot of physical controls. So just like in all modern BMWs, they throw away something that has worked for decades, and we heavily rely on the infotainment system and capacitive controls that are spread throughout the cabin. Granted, iDrive is one of the best solutions on the market, but it can be overwhelming. I mean, what they did is they decluttered the interior, but they cluttered the infotainment system with all the options. So, for example, if there are some things that you change frequently, I would highly recommend you program them as shortcuts because good luck finding something when you're driving. Luckily, we still have a physical controller, so that's good, and buttons on the steering wheel are physical as well, so no issues with that. Now, another concerning area is the quality. It is down if we compare it to the predecessor and if we compare it to competition. There are just a lot of cheaper looking and feeling plastics. There are some elements that aren't just well put together, and the overall feel of this cabin is worse if we compare this thing to a new Audi Q5 or even the Volvo XC60, which has been on the market for so many years. The cabin of the X3 might wow you at first with all those screens and configurable ambient lighting, but once you start interacting with everything, you feel like there's something missing, especially at this price point. Now, what BMW got right though is the storage. The center console has been cleaned up. You can fit 2 phones in there, the cup holders are massive, and there's a decent amount of storage under the armrest. Also, the door pockets, both front and back, offer good space, so you can fit big bottles without any issues. Now, the new generation has also grown in size, as you can tell from the outside, but you can really see and feel that in the second row. Being 6'1", I have no issues fitting behind myself. Better equipped models come with sunshades, third-zone climate control, and the door opens pretty wide, so you shouldn't have any issues putting your kids in the child seats. Also, the cargo area is more than satisfactory. You can fit tons of stuff in there, which for a luxury SUV is great, and it's not like the car just got bigger on the outside. Again, it's bigger on the inside, so no complaints there. Lastly, let's talk about the front seats, which typically for BMW are great. They're very supportive, have inflatable bolsters, and at the same time, they're comfortable, and also the seating position is pretty good. You can sit relatively low to the ground to have that sporty feeling. Now, the question is the new X3 sporty to drive? Well, let's head into our favorite back road now and check it out. Okay, so we're behind the wheel of the new BMW X3 M50. This is the highest performance variant of the new X3. Allegedly, BMW will not be releasing the new X3 M, so this car will compete with cars like the Mercedes GLC 43 or an Audi SQ5. And of all those three vehicles, the X3 M50 should be the most fun to drive, so let's see how it does on our favorite back road. I don't want to be Mr. Negative, but I do not like the fact that we lost the drive mode selector. We have to click on this haptic button here and go into sport mode if it works. There we go, confirm limited TSC. We can use the boost mode to get everything out of the mild hybrid system, and wow, this thing flies. I've said it so many times before that B58 and 8 HP combo is a match made in heaven. The engine is incredibly smooth. It's super responsive, revs all the way up to 7,000 RPM and has an amazing power delivery and characteristics. Nothing to complain about. Let's put the transmission into manual mode. Maybe not as quick as PDK in Porsche, you cannot expect that, but it is super quick and responsive. It's gonna go into the right gear when you're in automatic mode, and when you drive this thing normally, it's not gonna let you down. It's gonna be super smooth, almost CVT-like. So the drivetrain, typical BMW. There is nothing, literally nothing to complain about. Great power delivery, amazing smoothness, and everything that we need from a performance-oriented SUV. I don't know what this Nissan Z is doing right here. Sir, we can have a little bit of fun. You have a Z. We don't see those cars too often. All right, I guess he heard us. We're gonna attack those corners a little bit more aggressively. And we can keep up with that Z because the new X3 M50 handles very well. It's super nimble. The steering is better compared to the previous generation. It's more responsive, maybe provides slightly more feedback, but it is very quick and direct, so the car very nicely listens to all of your inputs. Also, as we lift off in tight corners, the car is gonna rotate a little bit, so that's also a welcome thing. We have a little bit of traffic here, so let's pop a UE. Very maneuverable too. I cannot complain about that. Okay, sport mode, let's just floor it. Now I do have fake engine noise enabled, just so you guys can hear how it sounds. I can disable it here in the menu, and I'm really glad that you can fully disable it. There's a difference, but the B58 still sounds amazing. All right, let's go back into handling. Very nice and nimble. The car is gonna rotate in tight corners. The steering doesn't provide much feedback, maybe a little bit more compared to the predecessor, but it is quick and direct. I still wish BMW figured out how to tune those EPS racks, because it is possible to tune it well. We have a lot of mechanical grip. The xDrive system is rear biased. We also have an active M differential in the back, so again, that's gonna help with rotation, puts down the power pretty well, and I am surprised when it comes to what this thing is capable of. You still feel you have an SUV. There's still going to be body roll, but for what this thing is, since we don't have an M340i Touring in the US, or the wagon variant of the M340i, the X3 has to serve as that practical performance vehicle, and it does its job pretty well. Alrighty, let's go into our personal drive mode, which is just a normal comfort mode. Put the transmission back into drive. The car is gonna be slightly softer. The difference between damping modes is not night and day. It's not like you put into sport mode and it becomes over-damped like a Mercedes GLC 43. It's slightly stiffer, but again, not over-damped. Has better body control, but it's not like you're gonna hate your life. Now, as a daily, the X3 is also an amazing vehicle. They improved comfort, they improved NVH compared to the old models. So even though we have this higher performance variant of the X3, it's an amazing daily. The suspension might feel slightly stiffer if we compare this to an Audi SQ5, but it's no biggie. You can't really complain. Audi's gonna do a better job absorbing all the road imperfections. It has an air suspension as optional, and it also has that multilink in the front axle, so that will help a little bit with how the car reacts to any bumps, any expansion joints, any potholes. But what the X3 M50 does is totally acceptable. It's a much more comfortable daily than the Mercedes GLC 43, and it feels more refined overall. Again, we have that amazing smoothness from that straight six that sits under the hood, great transmission tuning, and the NVH levels are also not that high. There is noticeably less road noise if we compare it to the old model. The wind noise is also on a great level. We don't have laminated side windows like we do in an Audi SQ5, but that's totally fine. You can do 3-digit speeds on German autobahns in relatively quiet conditions. So as of driving, you feel great. You somewhat feel connected to the car, which is a nice surprise. Still, I don't like the interior, but that's not what really matters when you drive the car. When you have everything in kind of this mode where you don't get distracted by all those screens, it's a nice experience, and it does feel like a BMW. So with that, let's head into the final thoughts and summarize this thing. Okay, so let's sum up the new BMW X3. It is a mixed bag. On one hand, the design isn't as timeless as it was before, and the cabin just feels and looks cheap. I mean, you can slap a Kia badge on it and I would believe that it's a new Sportage. But I have to say, it is a very practical SUV, and it can serve as a family car for a small family. What they really got right though is the driving dynamics. I mean, you just cannot go wrong with the B58 and NHP combo. The car has great driving dynamics. It's also comfortable when you put the dampers into soft mode. The ride is compliant and the cabin is well isolated. So at the end of the day, you may not like the design, you may not like how the cabin looks, but that's not what makes the car drive, right? Anyways, if you guys have any questions about this thing, drop a comment and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.